Hey guys, welcome to another video. I'm shooting this right after the launch, the live stream from the Realme 7i and C15 launch. So I just knew the prices. I've had the phone for about 2 days now, and this is the Realme 7i. Right now, at any budget, you'll find a really good phone that does the basics very well. And the basics are simple: good battery life, okay performance for the usual social media use, a decent enough screen for watching videos and all that, and okay cameras. This is true for a huge number of devices in the budget segment. That's why if you're in the market for a new phone, you're probably having a very hard time choosing a device to buy because there's so many options to choose from and a big variety of new devices to consider. Companies are trying very hard to get you to buy from them and not from their competitors. Since there's very little they can add to their devices, that's why currently we're seeing specifications we thought to be very high-end coming to the budget segment. For example, who thought that there'll come a time when we will see 64 megapixels in sub 30 or sub 20k devices? Who even thought we will see 90Hz refresh rate on sub 25k phones? Who thought there'd be a time when 90Hz refresh rate panel will be on phones that cost less than headphones? This is the first phone we are seeing in the market that costs less than 25,000 with a high refresh rate panel, and that's something no one would have imagined just a year ago. So first, the unboxing. I like how Realme devices come in a striking yellow box. This is my third Realme device and the presentation always stands out. As usual, you're welcome to the Realme world if this is your first purchase, and then you get the usual stuff: the manuals, a silicone case, the phone itself, an 18-watt fast charger, and USB Type-C cable. While some manufacturers are doing away with chargers in the name of saving the environment, only to later on sell you the chargers at higher markups, I love that Android makers like Realme, Oppo, and the rest are shipping out even faster chargers than before. I just wish that the charging brick here supported Type-C to Type-C instead of Type-A to Type-C, like Samsung devices do. However, I'm glad that Realme knows that Type-C is the future. Also, I've never mentioned this, but this is a cable that will last long. It isn't weak like other cables from other manufacturers, which wear out in less than 6 months. Now let's talk about the display. For 25,000 Kenya shillings, there's a lot I expect as a user. For one, I expect a really good display that has to be full HD and bright enough, well calibrated, and beautiful to look at and consume content from. The Realme 7i fails on one of those things. It is not full HD, and there's no excuse I can make for them here. However, the display has a lot of positives going for it. For one, it looks really good, and you won't know it's not full HD until you check, or you watch a YouTube video and then you realize it can only go up to a maximum of 720p. It achieves the standard brightness of most panels in this price range, which means that outdoors it won't be hard to use, but you will need to push the brightness high. The second positive thing is something most Kenyans won't realize or won't even talk about, but it's something that makes a huge difference in how smooth the phone feels. This is the first panel under 25k in the Kenyan market to have a 90Hz panel. There's no way for me to show this to you in a video, but you have to just experience the device to see it for yourself. So you have to have a 60Hz screen next to a 90Hz panel and then touch the two to feel the difference between the 60Hz and the 90Hz. Touch feels instantaneous, animations are butter smooth. It is very visually appealing in a way that makes you hate other screens you may have. And this is something not many phones, including some very high ends, don't include. That Realme manages to have the feature on a low-end device speaks volumes for what the company is aiming for. Personally, I want you to try out the 90Hz panel. Walk into a store or get someone with the device and just try it out. It makes a whole lot of difference. The third thing is the design. This is a generic, boring design. If you've seen the Oppo A92, it looks like it. If you've seen most of the recent phones launched this year, they look sort of the same. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad design, despite the fact that it's not glass, it's a fingerprint magnet, but it's the design you've seen with very many devices this year. So the boxy sort of look with a camera bump on the left or on the right, depending on where you're looking. I can't fault realme personally for this design, because what else would they have gone with? This is the design of phones in 2020. So in its own, it looks good. What you should know, however, about the device is, one, it's not a heavy device. This is the Oppo A92 and it feels almost the same as the Oppo A92. Two, it's a fingerprint magnet, so whenever you touch it, you will leave your fingerprints on it. Three, the rear fingerprint scanner feels really good, works really well. However, after using a lot of phones this year that come with the side fingerprint scanner, I sort of missed that. What do you think of the design? Tell me down below. Now let's talk about the cameras. Huge numbers get people. When you say 64 megapixels, people want to know the quality, people want to know if you can take great photos, vloggers want to know if they can use it for videos. But numbers aren't always the thing that makes cameras stand out. A couple of other things like software play an even bigger role in the quality of the output. Realme, being a company that broke off from Oppo, uses the same software, I believe, for the cameras as Oppo devices. That's why for the front cameras, you will notice there's a lot of smoothing happening. I know many people don't like this feature, and I hope Realme fixes this soonest. You will also notice that the front camera portrait mode pics aren't all that appealing, though for some, I believe this is the aesthetic they may be after. For the rear cameras, the 64 megapixel camera is quite good. However, highlights tend to be overdone sometimes, and there's some very aggressive processing on things like clouds and grass. But all in all, you can take quite good pictures, and at this budget, complaining about the quality feels like I'll be overstretching it. What I found weird, however, is the lack of 4K recording, which I believe with the Snapdragon processor, the amount of RAM here, and the 64 megapixel sensor should be available. Hopefully, maybe a software update will bring 4K recording. The ultra-wide camera is not good and you won't use it a lot. Same is for the macro camera. So these are just extra lenses that I believe you'll rarely use. I like that Realme has included an easy way to edit a video you've taken by either increasing the playback speed or streaming it, but I hope they can add in more features so that they can enable people who will be using this device for day-to-day vlogging activities to be able to just create content directly from the phone without needing third-party apps. Talking of software features, let me now address the thing I love the most about the Realme 7i: software. Whenever I get a new phone, I really dislike having to uninstall bloatware, delete apps I don't need, download Google apps so as to replace the default apps that come with the phone. But with the Realme 7i, I feel like I haven't had to do all that, because this is the first Realme device that I've used where Google is the center of the device. So there's now the proper embracing of Google apps by having them as the default apps. So now when you launch your phone, from the launcher you can swipe from the left to access Google Now cards. It feels like the sort of default look stock Android devices come with. Secondly, the phone dialer is Google's default dialer, so no using third-party dialers that are very crazy. Third, Google Messaging app is the default messaging app here, so RCS is ready for everyone who wants RCS. You don't have to download the Google app, it's default here. And many more Google apps come pre-installed. For example, Google Pay is already here. And the best thing is bloatware is reduced. Unlike other Realme phones, I think the Realme C15, which came with a lot of bloatware, this one only has a couple of apps. This is the look I want every time I open a new Android device. This is the look I want with every device, not the noisy, full of bloatware, ads, notification look that I get with Transsion devices. The only thing I hope is that Realme will commit to sending out updates pretty regularly so that this phone stays updated over the year. Talking of software, the other thing that's really good is performance. Realme hasn't as yet shared the price of the 64 and 4 gig of RAM model, which I believe will be around 16,000 Kenya shillings. And for that, it will be a killer deal. So if it launches, just go for that. The model I have here is the 128 and 8 gigs of RAM model. And I cannot start explaining to you just how good the performance is. You know what to expect at this with this sort of specifications. You know the games you can play, you know the way everything will run very smoothly. This phone feels much smoother, much faster than the Oppo A93, whose review is just dropping soon. This is the A93. So thanks to the 90Hz panel on this phone, everything feels much faster, much smoother. Finally, let's talk about battery life. In the past, a 3500 milliamp battery felt really big. 4000 milliamp battery was a preset for like very good phones, and then 5000 was just out of this world. Nowadays 5000 it's standard, and this is a 5000 milliamp battery. Chenze from Android Kenya got close to 5 hours screen on time with 27% remaining after 1 day and 19 hours on a single charge. That's really good. On my part, in the first day of use, I charged it up to 85%, and then I used it for camera testing. Very little social media, just camera testing, and at the end of the day it was around 41%, which points to very good battery life when you're using the camera. So you can expect great battery life and fast charging thanks to the 18-watt fast charger included. So if you are a person who's just a sucker for long battery life, this is one of the devices that will offer you long battery life. So in conclusion, I've called very many devices good this year. If asked for the best under 25k, I know I'll have a hard time deciding on a device. However, I know if I'm to make a list of some of the best devices under 25k, this device will be among those devices because of 3 things. First, the 90Hz panel. Nothing else comes close to the 90Hz panel at this price point. Second, the Snapdragon 662 processor, which gives this device really good performance. Third, the 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage, which is something we don't normally see at this price point. If you get this device, you will love the cleaner UI, the smoother feel of using it, and the way it handles everything you throw at it with ease. You will probably not love the cameras as much. However, depending on the things you want to do it, you may sort of like the cameras. And that's it for the review, because I think I've covered everything. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe.